Ba, 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 ba. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. This video is brought to you by my 10,000 subscribers. We just crossed that threshold in the last hour, I would say. And so, I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, the notification button, if you're interested in discussing the real nitty-gritty of writing, as well as show business, the movies, and Quentin Tarantino's 10th and final film. What was supposed to be the movie critic now is right? It's called The Continuing Adventures of Cliff Booth, as a fuck you to me. My name's Brian Jennings. I've been referred to as the Millennial Dragon. I've been referred to as the Psychic Scientist. I've been referred to as an arrogant fucking loser, depending who you ask. But I wrote Quentin a series of letters, not too much, but 2 sets of letters, 6 months apart, about playing the lead in the movie critic, because I am a writer. I've been writing a lot today. And we'll touch more on that in a second. And so when he stopped accepting my mail and stopped reading my letters and considering me, having written some 60 pages, 50 pages, I felt that that was egregious. I felt that that was exceptionally asinine. And so I wrote a 7,000-word essay about it, deconstructing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then started reviewing movies in protest. Because The Movie Critic is a movie about a guy who reviews movies. And so when Quentin tells the Church of Tarantino podcast, how can I make the most boring job in the world exciting? Right? What he's saying is that writing's not exciting. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about me. He's saying, you, Brian Jennings, you're not interesting. You're the writer who wrote me. Movies about writers are boring. Right? But the reason he says that, right, is because, and this is my fault. It's my fault. Made no qualms about that. Right? That he created a telepathic connection with me and set me up to question him in an impromptu back and forth at a screening of Jackie Brown last year, where I decided to go because he canceled the film and then still refused to talk to me. And so once he knew that I was going, right, he cultivated this notion in his mind without ever talking to me, all through the psychic crucible of the mind's eye. And that's his right. And so he has the conversation with De Niro, right? He sets me up, right? I wrote him twice from the time he canceled the film to then, refused both times. I had a letter in the book. I asked him to sign the book. I shoved the letter all the way up to his face. He stuck his nose up and turned his back on my writing again. And so, in a moment of cowardice, in a moment of hubris, I did the same thing and left. I didn't want to believe that the whole thing was about me, and it was all about me. He was setting me up to reveal me to the world. And so, after, maybe a week, I started to feel bad. That set into motion a sequence of events that has led to us being in what we're in now, which is a legendary psychic siege. The two of us represent a case study in remote viewing. That he and the people around him, right, perhaps it's 3 people, perhaps it's him and his wife, perhaps it's all him, have spent some 500 hours watching me through remote viewing. And as a result of me being a clairvoyant, some would say of the highest magnitude, it has engendered an epic case study, psychologically, in both of us. And so I let him run amok in the caverns of my mind, month after month after month after month after month. And on New Year's Eve last year, going on 1 year now, I revealed myself and started remote viewing the woman that he alleged was his daughter. He alleged he had a daughter who wasn't loving me. It's all bullshit. It's the subject of my novel. And so it just degenerated. He just kept escalating, and I kept remote viewing, right? Kept humiliating me until finally he admitted it's all bullshit, right? And then it became obvious, oh, you're just going to manipulate me until I blow my brains out. There's no other way to interpret it. And so why do I say that? I say that because it's very simple logic. He has created a condition in his mind where I exist as a goblin in his mind, just like he exists as a goblin in my mind. Right? And so if he has no intentions of making any real memories with me, no one in their right mind would set themselves up to suffer in the way that we're suffering for the last 20 years of their life. Therefore, his goal was always to compel me to suicide, or at the very least, permanent hospitalization, and still at the very least beyond that, to make me appear insane so that he can justify losing the game of Russian roulette that he played with his career. I didn't degenerate it into a mind game. He did that. And so, after I realized what it really was, when I said, oh no, he's just manipulating me, like I can't trust anything that he says to me now in this room, I've been trying to come clean ever since. And so the reason that the condition is this occulted thing now is purely through his influence, purely through his psychic manipulation of everyone around him. And I know that they grow weary of his lies, because I've been saying the same thing the entire time. And so all that he can say is that I'm insane, right? But the point is, why hasn't he released the conversation between him and De Niro at De Niro Con? Right? Why isn't that online? Right? Because I humiliated him. And I felt bad about it, but then once it all became clear, I fully see, right, the depth of his evil. He has a palpable evil inside of him. And so I made the right decision, because I can handle it. I can hang. So, this is the source of my fear, because he has put himself in this condition psychologically, and he can never get out of it. Doesn't work that way. So, now, since he doesn't want to, right, he doesn't want to acknowledge me, right, he doesn't want to pay me to shut the fuck up, right, he doesn't want to tell the truth about the movie. Therefore, he expects this diseased condition to exist. Therefore, he wants me to die so that he doesn't have a fucked up mind anymore. And so I have fear, palpable, reasonable, logical fear, that he's going to hit his breaking point and send someone here to murder me. That's the point. So, we take it day by day, but we talk about it every day, despite how fucking obnoxious and tedious it is. Because I say the same thing every time. Right? But the mysteries of the mind, right, is a dense palace of convolution. And so in that way, I'm taking my mind back. And I've been writing a substantial amount. Why don't we just take a look? Pretty funny. That's a funny scene. Almost there. Almost there. It's a lot. Okay, so it's that much, isn't it? Front and back. What is that? That's like 70 pages, isn't it? 70 sheets, 140 pages. And so that's the prologue to my novelization of my experiences, which tells a story that picks up on the last day of principal photography for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, right, I didn't want it to be this, right? I spent a good, month, 2 months after he admitted to me that he has a sick mind, that he's just interested in torturing me and manipulating me, because he can deny it always. He said, oh God, I don't know, we don't know. Right? By reaching out to his agent, reaching out to his family, reaching out to his sister-in-law, right? Saying, are you aware of what's occurring? Do you understand what this man is doing? Like, what this man is content, the condition that he's prepared to allow to persist in our minds. And I know that he lies to all of them. He says, oh, I have no idea what he's talking about. But after it became clear that no one's going to talk to me, that he lies to all the press, he's up to his neck. He's drowning in lies. Right? I made this channel to talk about it openly in the light of day. So, 10,000 subscribers. Why don't we take a second to discuss my essay, to discuss his opus to date, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I posit, through a fairly clear link and logic, that it is only through Brad Pitt's spousal abuse that he was able to have the device that allowed him to resolve his desire to discuss the Manson family in his revisionist way. So, the Hateful Eight gets made. He meets his lovely wife, his lovely young bride, Daniela. Huh? From the Italian Pictures. Get it? And right, he wants to make another movie. He wants to do Manson. He doesn't like how do I make it work? Right? He wants to tell the Manson story, but in the same way that he told Hitler's story in World War II. Right? I posit that it's only through Cliff Booth's story materializing that he had the appropriate device to justify, to have something to like latch onto and tell his revisionist story where the Manson kids go into the wrong house. Just like Hitler went into the wrong movie theater. Therefore, right? In fact, it's misdirection, right? Cliff Booth is the reason that movie got made, not Rick Dalton. Just like Shakespeare, right? Shakespeare does that a lot, where he puts his best lines in all the other characters, right? Cassius is the best character in Julius Caesar. Hamlet's like the only exception to that. Maybe the Scottish play as well. So, right? It took, right, a drunken rage and a call to the FBI for him to turn it into like, oh no, like now I see it, now I can make it work. So, right, all that press, it's all bullshit. It's all like when he says, oh, I think I drifted more to this character. Like, no, he's playing the game. He's playing the game. They have no honesty. Right? And so, when I wrote him, I wanted to play the role. I wanted to be the movie critic in the film. And now I see that as a result of my cowardice, and again, that's my fault, right? He didn't need to do anything else. He just needed to do more for me. Right? He says I overplayed my hand. I say he overplayed his hand. Right? What the truth is, each individual has to decide for themselves. But now I see myself as, right, actually being the only person who can like assess the landscape and see it for what it is. Right? And so I can't stress this enough, right? The reason that I have so much to say about it is because he and the people around him have spent so much time remote viewing me. And I've done everything that I can, right, to move on, right? And when he put me in that state in April, right, where he like was leading me to believe that he was seeking to poison my magnetic body, right, with black magic evil. And I'm going to be drawing something about that soon, because it's, when I just say it, it seems, schizophrenic in some way. It seems like I've lost my mind, and that's what he's banking on. But what I'm saying is that, like, hopefully, I don't know until he tells the truth. I can't know, but hopefully, right, he didn't actually bring someone who had HIV or AIDS into his house, or he didn't go pay a fucking hobo somewhere in Skid Row $1,000 for a pint of their blood, right, and try to cast this spell on me to destroy me. Like, hopefully it was just psychological warfare, is my point, right, where he just had bags of saline and needles and used his blood, and and that's the scope of their ambition. But seeing as how, right, he can always deny it, and seeing as how he lives with a palpable evil in his heart, right, I suspect that he did go all the way. Why shouldn't he? And so in the spirit of that awareness, why shouldn't I assume that he's prepared to go all the way and send someone to murder me, because he knows I'm never going to kill myself. And so when that occurred in April, right, when I was trying to remote view Trey while he was playing, a right which I reserve for everyone, forever, just like you, in TV land, in YouTube land, watching this video. Right? It's like playing an instrument. Everyone has this facility within themselves. right? It's just seeing through the static, right? Figuring out what is your true clairvoyant psychic eye and what is the rhapsody of your imagination. Okay. When he did that in April, right, which is the sickest evil arguably anyone can put on you, right? It is a real taste of a sick sorcerer's magical battle. I said, okay, you keep the scene. I sent him a scene. We're good. You just go away. We're good. Right? I stopped remote viewing the girl. And really, I stopped doing that when he told me that she's not his daughter. Right? But I was trying to move on. I was like trying to move on. And about a week later, he says, oh, I want you to sue. And so I did everything I could to sue him for another 4 months. Seeking jobs. I finally took a job sorting trash, spending all of my money sending the fucking paperwork to the Santa Monica courthouse. Every day he's tortured me with the same similar evil, to the point that it got so attenuated that I quit my job. And so now we're done. We're going to talk about this every day. And he can continue lying to everyone else. Right? And so the point that I'm getting at is that he spoke at Cannes earlier this year. And while he was on stage, he had someone making my life miserable. And then when he got his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Burbank International Film Festival, he made my life miserable that whole weekend. Right? And then maybe like 3 weeks ago, I thought that they were shooting my scene. I thought it was like, oh, he's shooting my scene right now. But then the trades published that he was shooting a film in France, his first real acting job in 20 years. And he made my life absolutely miserable that whole weekend. The highest evil anyone can put on you. Right? And so now, well, perhaps he is using my scene. I say that's irrelevant because it's obvious that he was on that film set. And I suspect a lot of fucking people were asking him about me because it's not a secret. They're just not talking about it. Right? And when I say he overplayed his hand as his psychic. He told everyone, he like strung me all around town my head. So, oh, this is my new guy. Right? Treating me like his monkey in a cage, never telling them that he only played a manipulative mind game with me. And when he stuck his nose up in my writing, knowing that he never actually said anything to me, knowing that he refused my letters both times, seeing that he was trying to manipulate me up onto the stage, I turned around and left because it's my mind. The treasures of my mind are mine to dispense with as I see fit. And it's his movie. I don't fault him for that. I don't fault him for talking mad shit about me forever. But to enter into this campaign, to make me appear insane, to justify, right, his impotence as a psychic is the definition of evil. And so that's why we're talking about it. And so now we have this pattern of behavior that up through Cannes, right, I didn't really care what he was doing. It wasn't like I was moving on with my life. And then when I realized, like, oh, I see, he was fucking with me while he was on stage. He was at people fucking with me while he was on stage to have his mind. Or to just be a miserable bastard. I said, okay, I gotta look it up. And I notified everyone at Burbank. They all know who I am. The whole fucking industry knows who I am. I'm making sure of that. Right? And so now, right? Why don't we just take a look? Why don't we just take a look right now? I have to write everyone that's hosting him forever. There it is. Doesn't appear to be anything current. Yep. Nothing current. Burbank's the newest one. Right? The Vanguard. Oh, what a cool guy. Oh, look at me smiling like, oh yeah, like I suck feet, I'm cool. Right? He has a great depravity in him. So, we talk about it now because, right, I'm afraid he's going to send someone to kill me because he can't break my mind. That's the point. So, right? What gives me the right to say these things? What gives me the right to write this savage story about this man? The pinnacle of fan fiction. Right? The same right that gave me the strength to turn my back on being an instant movie star in exchange for the sovereignty of my mind. Right? It's not an unfair exchange on some level. Some would say Luciferian. Right? I see now that I suppose I should have just done it, seeing how it's a double-edged sword, how evil he's become. Because I definitely don't deserve this. No, all I ever did was write letters from the heart, and be honest. That's all I ever did. But sometimes it's hard to go the right way. Because it never had to be what it is. Never had to be what it is. Right? And so this is the point. This is the point that I've been making this entire time, right? To my 10,000 subscribers. Right? That he has it within himself to have expectations about his film. That's right. I forgive all the telepathic expectations all the way through. Tribeca. Because it's his movie. Right? That you can be a subtle, right? Right? I want to say a lot of things, but you can play these games with people as it pertains to you in your life. Right? But when I didn't give him what he wanted, rather than being the boss of his life, rather than writing me, rather than reaching out to me and saying, you fucking blew it. That was the moment. I trusted you. You don't want to play the game by my rules. You want to waste my time? Here's $3 million. Go fuck off. Go play Hamlet anywhere else. Your Los Angeles privileges are revoked. Right? Rather than do that, right? He continued down his pathway of, right? I want to say being a bitch. That's what I want to say. There, I said it. Right? He doubled down and said, oh no, I'll keep being cunning. I'll keep being deceptive. I'll keep refusing to speak to this man simply and honestly. I'll make sure everyone knows that he's insane so that way they don't say that I'm an arrogant asshole. Right? That's the definition of evil. And so since that ran its course all the way through March, right? And then in April, when the event occurred that I was talking about a few minutes ago, right? And he stepped into real black magic evil, right? That was another escalation, which we're still in the middle of now. That he reserves the right to practice high evil upon me. And I can do the same thing too. Right? But he's a pussy. And if I put that evil on him, he'll send someone to murder me. And so that's why we're talking about it. And in the spirit of that understanding, in the spirit of knowing how far he's gone, right? To secure his legacy outside of me humiliating him, up to and including seeking my permanent hospitalization and suicide. Why shouldn't I assume that he has intentions of going all the way? Why shouldn't I assume that at any moment he'll hit his breaking point psychologically and send someone to kill me? This is the same thing that I was saying about my scene, right? When I wrote my essay, right? It's a badass scene. That movie's about a writer. It's about a writer yelling at people for reading his writing, right? Why shouldn't I assume he intends to use it? It's the most badass scene anyone ever sent him, right? He's had no ethical standard from A all the way to B, which is now. Why should I assume that, now I draw the line in the sand? Right? The man's got $300 million, right? His wife's owed money too. Right? So now we have an ethical standard. Right? So I'll do everything just short of murder. I'll do everything that I can't have something come back to me in any way. Right? And so what I'm saying is no doors are closed for him, right? He's a sick, evil man. Right? And to practice this evil upon me shows that he's prepared and does not care at all about morality, about truth, about the source of his clairvoyance, about the dignity of his legacy, of his soul, of the beauty of his wife, his children. Right? He cares about power and manipulation. And that's why I turned my back, and that's why we're still talking about it now. Because his mind power is not enough to compel me to blow my brains out. Therefore, I know you're all smart enough to understand this. Right? And I know that it's also a tough pill to swallow. Because who doesn't love Quentin Tarantino? I did a lot. That's why I wrote him. Not a lot, but my case was strong. So, now we have to talk about it. I'm starting my first day of rehearsal today with 12th Night. And I'm on edge about it, as far as him being ugly, being evil. I was supposed to be there yesterday, but I didn't understand the schedule. I hope they're not too terribly upset with me. But I know he resents me. In his mind, he's like, oh, how can you, oh, after you did this to me, right? That's how arrogant he is. How can you expect to lay claim to being an artist? Right? And so this is why he asked Fish to play A Life Beyond a Dream. I can see a life beyond a dream. Right? That to him, he equals art. Right? And so to me, he equals artist. That's not art, is it? Like, all I know is art. I don't know anything else. So there's no, right? And so this is why he's like, oh, you have to kill yourself. Because he knows I don't need him. That's the point. That's the point. And it upsets him in a big way. And this is my fear. This is my fear. This is why he doesn't pay me either. Because he knows, right, that I'll take that money and go play Hamlet, get a bunch of good reviews. Right? So, win, lose, or draw, I have to talk about it until he tells the truth. He just says, oh, I set him up and he blew it. That's all he's got to say. He doesn't have to say, like, he can produce the document. Like, I feel like he shows people a document. He says, oh, this is where I told him. And he lies to all of them and no one actually believes him. They just say, okay, Quentin, sure. Like, that's what he shows, like CBS or, these people that I email. But it's a lie. He's lying to all of them. And so that's unfortunate that they do nothing to prove me wrong beyond listen to him. Right? And so, right, he's exerting an almost immaculate level of psychic pressure upon the world right now to maintain this level of falsehood and dishonesty that is chipping away at his sanity a little bit each day. And so the same could be said for me, but in the opposite way, right? That I'm being so totally truthful that it's consuming me because he has a lot of resources and he has, right, a lot of powerful people protecting him. And this is the source of my fear. That this is like corporate espionage on the highest level. Right? Sony Pictures, right? William Morris Endeavor. These are billion-dollar companies. This is not a game. He's been treating it like a game for a long time. And so now that I see the things that he's been doing to me, right, it's time to talk about it. It's time to just, no more secrets. No more. It's fine. I blew it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a loser. And so he can tell the truth, right? Or I can write everyone around him. I can write the guy that just finished that coffee table book about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that's like what I'm going to do. And so I'm finishing my story now, and then I'm probably going to write some people. And I don't want to, but I have to. I have to. It's time to talk about it. It's time to talk about it. Right? He played a mind game with me, and he lost. And I lost too. As far as a career, I guess, as his movie star, I don't know. Does he own the movies? I don't think he owns the movies. It's obvious he owns Hollywood to some degree. That no critics pointed out. Right? That Cliff Booth is an obvious analog to Brad Pitt's spousal abuse is a testament to the lack of honest criticism within the industry. I don't care that he wrote it. This is what writers do. It's a beautiful script. I liked the movie. It was beautiful, right? And I was blinded when I saw it. It took me getting violated by him and his psychic clairvoyance after he read my letters in December and January of 23-24. For me to really start like thinking about that movie, thinking about him, right? And my point is that it's an equal exchange, right? That for all that he jumped into my mind, he let me into his mind as well. That's the trade-off. No free lunches. So, right? Was it just psychological torture? Did he use actual diseases to try to kill me? Either way, the intent has degraded his soul in a palpable way. And they're obviously so entrenched in evil that it's just a sick joke to them. And I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for how gone they are spiritually. They're trash. Right? Hollywood elite trash who practice the dark arts to suit the scope of their intent. And as far as this movie, I find no fault in that. I find no fault in him saying, oh, this is what I expect from you. But for him to continue down this path, to use his mind in this pathetic, wily attempt to overwhelm mine is the definition of pure evil. And so now, all that's left is actual evil. Actual, vulgar evil. That's it. There's nothing else. Right? Him and the people around him, right, group meditating on my suffering, my demise, with clay fetishes, etc., right? Voodoo, black magic, evil, or outright make the call, get rid of him. That's where we're at. Because I'm not going to kill myself. And I'm not interested in offensively attacking him, but I can no longer just let him abuse me in this way. And so I have to be prepared to defend myself measure for measure. And that upsets me in a big way. Because I didn't set up this at all. This was never the scope of my intent. Right? When he started plaguing my mind with this bullshit, I trusted him and I believed him because I felt bad about Tribeca. Because when I went there, it was in love. It was in trust. And I let the light inside of me die a little. I betrayed it. For pride, for the sovereignty of my mind. Because it's mine. So, I have to talk about it. As difficult as it is, as obnoxious as it is. I suppose I don't know what else to say. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, share. God bless.